Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Faith, Family, and Finance. I am Sharindria Robinson,
And I'm Marcus Robinson.
and we are so happy to come to you this evening as we do every Sunday evening at as we do every Sunday evening at 9 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock, right?
It is 9 o'clock.
Okay, it's 9 o'clock. So we're definitely happy to come to you on this Sunday evening. Tonight we have a very interesting topic, and it's something that I guess is near and dear to us. It's something that we are Marcus, it's our life, and we have friends who are on tonight who it's a great part of their life as well. So I want to allow Marcus to introduce, excuse me, our. I want to welcome our guests, but I want to allow Marcus to just say who we have with us tonight, and each one of our guests will come and introduce themselves. We want you to. Some of you are already saying yes, you're ready for this topic. We're going to talk about real estate investing. Real estate investing tonight. We're going to talk about real estate investing. So thank you so much for joining us, and I can take it away.
All right. So, everybody in this room I know personally. We have Kristen Johnson, we have Sandy Monroe, and we have the Robinson Group. I definitely know the latter part of the people that I just named. I have my dad, Thomas G. Robinson, and I have my brother, Corey Robinson. And oftentimes you see me, you see Sharindria, and we're discussing real estate matters and faith, family, and finances. But, as a family, this all had to start from somewhere. And so I thought that it was very meet and right to have my family talk a little bit about what it is we do, how it is we do it, so that you can get a different perspective on what it is we do. And then, of course, we have Shandi and Kristen, who are real estate investors in their own right. And so I guess we can start with Kristen. Could you talk to us about who you are and what it is you've been doing?
Kirk, can you hear? I've lost him.
All right. Go ahead, Kristen.
Hello. Hey, everybody. I'm Kristen. I'm considered a newbie of real estate investing. I've been in the game for almost 2 years. Before then, I was dealing with analysis paralysis, getting all the information and just knowing everything, but just not taking action. But I finally took action maybe almost 2 years ago in October 2018. And I first got my first deal on March the 21st, 2019, on my mom's birthday, which was the first birthday my mom was not here because she passed away. So to me, that was like a sign that I need to go ahead and continue on real estate investing. So I found my deal through a Midlands RIA, which is a real estate investor association. We had wholesale investors who would present their deals out to everyone, saying what they have under contract. I kept thinking about this deal because it was very, very cheap, and it was near USC College Stadium. So I spoke to the wholesaler, asking if we could meet at the house, and it was my mom's birthday. And I saw the deal, I saw the numbers. I said, okay, let's go ahead and do it. Let's plug it. So that's how I was able to start on real estate investing.
I love it.
That's major.
I'm gonna come back and ask you some more questions about that. Thanks for that intro, Kristen. Shandi.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shandi Monroe with Dream 12 Properties. That's a company that my husband and I started, who is my business partner as well, about 3 years ago. And basically, our primary focus is on flipping, buying and renovating houses and reselling them to retail buyers, as well as some of our portfolio. We do have some rental properties. We started back. When I say back, we originally started in 2003. We bought our very first home. We had no idea what we were doing during that time, but we bought that home for $24,000 in Jacksonville, Florida, and we renovated it, and then we put it on the market for Section 8. Fast forward during that time, as we all know, there was a crash back in 2008. We were steadily acquiring properties. We acquired about a total of 7 at that time that we all use as rentals properties. And then with the whole crash and most of the tenants losing their jobs, we lost those properties. We started back up again with Dream 12 Properties 3 years ago. And now we're flipping property. So right now we're buying and selling in the Columbia area and surrounding areas, as well as in Southeast Georgia.
Got it. Now you say it's called Dream 12 Properties. How many properties did you say you have?
Right now we have 10 and growing. We have did 10 and growing properties as flip, and we have 4 rental properties now.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay. Thanks, Shondi.
All right. Pop, can you hear us?
Thomas Robinson.
Can you hear us?
Oh,
Can't hear?
Can't hear.
All right.
I can hear
Where'd Corey
Marcus
go?
and Sharindria.
Oh, you can hear
You
us?
can't hear us?
Okay, well, we can hear you just fine.
All right.
So if you will share a little bit about how y'all got started.
Yeah, give us your take on how we got started. Looks like Corey just rejoined us. Okay. All right, Pop, talk about how the Robinson Group got started. Can't you hear me? Uh-oh.
Corey got you.
All right, we're going to go to Corey, and we're going to try to figure it out.
Okay,
Corey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
All right, talk a little bit about how the Robinson Group got started.
Okay, so this is a story that I always tell. When I graduated college, we came out and my dad just had a staffing company. And so we were nowhere near real estate, wasn't talking about real estate at all. And somewhere after 9/11, we figured out that we needed to diversify. And so when we diversified, my brother was looking at an infomercial one night, and I think it was Russ Whitney, I think.
Carlton Sheets.
Carlton Sheets, okay.
Yeah.
Carlton Sheets. And so he was looking at that, and he brought up the idea of, us getting into real estate. And at the time, we did have a house that was inherited to my father over in basically downtown Greenville. And so we basically started with that one house. And all we did was change the carpet, paint it, and we rented it. And so we were able to get that on the market pretty quick. Didn't know anything, and just sort of kind of got nicked and bruised along the way. And so we've been doing it now ever since 2002, I think, officially. And so now we're into much more than just renting homes. We got into flipping, we got into wholesaling a little bit, and then now we're getting into building. So it's sort of kind of snowballed into several different branches of real estate. So I'm always intrigued when people talk about they want to get into real estate. I'm really eager to learn what part of real estate, because there are so many branches of real estate. And I guess at first all we thought was, owning a house and renting it out. But as you guys know, it's so many branches to that tree.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you, Corey, for that overview, and Kristen and Shondi, and those of you who are on and who are watching us, type your questions. We see Cantrell is already saying like Carlton Sheets. Yes, I remember. You remember those late night infomercials when he would be on television talking about that real estate property. Yes, that is where they got started. Marcus is looking.
It might be in here somewhere.
Marcus is looking for the audio cassette tapes. I think it was DVDs and VHS tapes.
VHS tapes.
But everybody starts somewhere. Everybody starts somewhere. And so we definitely need those of you who are you were so excited about this topic and you want to know more about it. And Lord knows, you are always like inboxing and texting and wondering, how do I learn more? How can I get more involved? This is the opportunity for you to ask your questions. This is the opportunity for you to ask whatever it is that you want to know. We have people who have been doing this for 20 years almost, 3 years plus 3 more years, 2 years. So we have a different variety. We have individuals who are doing this, we have couples who are doing it, and we have partnerships. And so this is why this group was very important to me, because I wanted anybody who was watching, no matter where you found yourself in life, to know that this is something you wanted to do is definitely something you can make a reality. And so definitely want to do that.
Now it's interesting that you said we have a good mix. You have couples, you have individuals. I guess Shandi, talk a little bit about how you guys do this as a couple. I mean, because the reality is, Sharindra and I, we work together, but not nearly as close as you guys. And I mean, how challenging is that? Is it something that's really easy to do? You know, what are some of the pitfalls of working with a spouse?
Yeah. Well, in our business, Jay and I, that's my husband, we work really close together. But what we did at the beginning, we were getting on each other's nerves because we were together all the time. So what we decided to do is establish roles. So my role is more of the client acquisition role, and I'm the administrative and the marketing piece. And then he took on the role as more of the rehab operations individual. So he'll handle all the rehab, the renovations by buying supplies, staying on top of that, and negotiating contracts with contractors. And then I'll stay over on the part where I'm doing the marketing, negotiating. So that was helpful as by us establishing roles for one another. The challenging part was turning it on and off because we were together all the time. Our kids were noticing that we were constantly talking about work when it was like, well, you guys aren't at work anymore. And so it was that balance, finding that balance, say, okay, now work is over. Let's talk about family and things of that nature. But we were so excited about what we were doing. So we're constantly talking about it. So our kids know everything about how to evaluate a house, know about how to estimate repairs, etc. So it, like I said, it was challenging, but we get along very well. We know when we need to take that break from each other and just then come back. So that's what I would say. Just learning, working together as a husband and wife team, just learning, establishing roles, setting some boundaries, and just taking some time away from it because it can become overwhelming and challenging.
That's probably the most accurate thing.
Mark, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear us?
Mark?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Can you hear us?
Corey? Can you all hear me?
Mm-hmm.
You still can't hear.
You can?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't hear Marcus and Sharindra.
I don't know why. Okay. I will say too, like Shandi said, that is just very accurate. Because, and I'm gonna let Corey definitely chime in on this one, but I know personally on my end, as you talk about being with somebody who always talks about work. You know, we would be on family. We could be at family events or on family outings or family functions, and it's so amazing. They just the three of them, my father-in-law Corey and Marcus, could just be on a corner talking about something else, like talking about work. And so I'm like, okay, whatever. But I'll let Corey share that.
Yeah, just
Oh, unmute yourself, Corey.
unmute yourself.
I got you.
I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
That's a challenge. I think, you know, with any family business, I think with any entrepreneur, I think that's going to be a work in progress, if you will.
Yeah.
But you're right. You're right, Sharindra. We when we get together, you know, we can have family time, and then before you know it, we have dipped off in a corner, and we're talking about, you know, whatever it is that we're talking about, but it has to do with business. And I think that's something we still got to work on. But, you know, one thing that I do know is that that's part of an entrepreneur's life. I mean, that's what we live. That's how we breathe. You know, if we had a regular 9-to-5 job working at Michelin, you know, you got a clock in time, you got a clock out time. But reality is, when you're an entrepreneur, I mean, there are opportunities and things that come your way, and you can't just.
I'm down now.
Right.
It's just one of those things. I mean, my wife loves and hates it at the same time. You know, she wants to definitely carve out some family time, but then at the same time, she understands. So
Right. Right. I like it. I like it. Kristen, I was listening to something that Corey said, talked about that whole entrepreneur spirit and people, a lot of people who are watching, and I
I
have
know
a
what I'm
question that we're
doing.
gonna pull up over here with someone, but from our chat, but a lot of people who are watching,
Yeah, I just
they are bivocational. So they have another job that they have to do from 9 to 5, and then they're also doing the real estate. So can you tell us from your experience, do you also have 9 to 5? Like what is it that you do outside of real estate, or do you exclusively do? Can you talk about that?
Yes, I have another job.
Yes.
I am a full-time HR manager um, at a government agency. I tend to either I would do my real estate investing work before I go to work in the morning, or I'll even do it at lunchtime because I do post lunch break. I'm going to my property, let people know you can do it too. And then
That's right.
after work, I would try to do it again or go to another property or looking for another property, or I may have an appointment to go to a property. So I'm doing that either during the weekdays, and sometimes on the weekends, I have an appointment to go to another property. So, I mean, we have 24 hours in a day. It's kind of like we shouldn't have any excuse because if I can do it, anybody can do it. Trust and believe. And I have like
That's
5
right.
jobs, really. I have a full-time job, real estate investing. I'm also a mobile notary public. Um, I'm also a professional resume writer because I do resumes for people. And I know I used to do this, but I'm still active. Uber driver, but I did it so I can do driving for dollars. So that's how I'm able to kind of
Oh,
like, look for a different property or different vacant, properties like that. Cause it'd be easier for me to do it like that when I take people home. So I used to do that too. So
Oh
so
wow.
no excuses. No
That
No
was
excuses.
clever.
excuses. Kristen said
wow.
no excuses. And I'm gonna
And
come
I
back
have
to that driving for dollars.
and I have a boyfriend. So I gotta balance all that out.
That's the job.
That's the real job right there, Kristen. Someone says here, let's take this first question. Anybody can take it here because I want to make sure we're getting some of these comments from our viewers. If you were just getting started today, what area of real estate would you choose? Y'all talked about there's so many different areas. What would you choose today if you were just getting started? Looking at today's market and climate.
I would say start off as a deal finder for an investor. Like go around different neighborhoods, whether it's your neighborhood or anybody else's neighborhood, and look for vacant, distressed properties.
It's working.
If you see one, write it down and take a picture of it, and then I don't know, go to your local RIA, which is a Real Estate Investors Association, and say, hey, my name is such and such. I'm interested in real estate investing. I'm kind of new to this. However, I do have a list of these distressed vacant properties. Maybe one of the investors may want to take a look at it. Okay, now you're adding value to that real estate investor. And of course, they're going to take that list and they probably want to help you out and help you learn the next step of it, which is wholesaling. So I'd say first, try to add value first when it comes to once you learn real estate investing, and then you'll probably end up having a mentor.
Gotcha. How would you do it? Anybody else?
All right, hold up before we go any further. Pop, can you hear us?
Oh, okay.
I can hear you now.
All right.
All right.
We in business.
All right.
All right. So we're in the middle of this this real estate conversation. We had someone ask if we had to start today in the real estate business, what would we do? So Pop, I'm gonna bring you in. If you would give us a brief introduction of who you are and talk about if we had to start today, given everything that's going on, how would we do it?
Okay. All right. Thank you, Marcus. Thank you for inviting me tonight to share in this conversation as it relates to real estate. But a lot of you may or may not know my background is staffing, temporary staffing, human resource. I worked in corporate America for 25 years and then started a business 25 years ago. Basically, we started with temporary staffing, doing primarily medical and manufacturing. In 2000, that was in 1995. In 2000, Corey came out of South Carolina State, and wanted to come to work for the company, and he did that. And then I guess probably in 2007, perhaps, Marcus, when did you join us? 2007.
That
And all
sounds
this
about
basically
right.
meant that we wanted to expand. And so I think that the real estate piece has been very attractive to us and has been very good to us. I think to the word of where would you start, I think I look at real estate primarily as a tree, a lot of branches. And so it's just a matter of what your interest is. I think if we had to do it today, we would basically start with just buying a house and trying to flip it to generate cash. We didn't go down that road. We basically inherited one house that was valued at about $30,000, and we borrowed on that, and we took it from there and started trying to increase the asset base and buying more properties. That worked for us from an asset standpoint. From a cash flow standpoint, it was okay. Until we basically started looking at flipping and building houses, that's when we really started generating some revenue. So I think that a young person or a person going into real estate should look at buying a house, an ugly house, that they can get into the game fairly easy, and then you can get in the game as low as $10,000 to $15,000. Buy an ugly house and then just go from there. Once you and take it slow, but once you bring that house up, all of a sudden you got a house that may be valued at $35,000 to $40,000. And so that's cash that you can probably go to a bank if you got good credit and borrow against. And so that process from that standpoint, you can move forward and just build on that. So it's just a matter of where you want to start. We started with one, and then we branched out into a lot of different areas.
So Montez asks, what exactly is wholesaling? What's wholesaling? We mentioned it. I think Corey mentioned it a little bit. If I had to define it, I would basically just say that wholesaling is basically when you find a deal and your intent is to flip that deal to another investor for money, obviously. And if it didn't flip to another investor, you would either have to buy that property or you could just basically wait until you find an investor. But basically a wholesaler is a middleman, just so that we kind of make sure that we get some terms under what we're talking about tonight.
Shondi, I want to go to you for a second. I remember. You probably remember better than I do because you think you're a little bit younger. But all the details around how we met, and so I want you to, if you don't mind, if this is, share your story about you guys coming to South Carolina, the opportunities that were here, and then how you ended up back in real estate investing again for the second time.
Okay, so we came to Columbia, South Carolina in 2015. My husband took a position at the VC Summer Project, and we all know what the VC Summer Project, it failed. So my husband, when I was smiling because Marcus talking about the Carlton Sheets, but how he originally started back in 03, 04 was Russ Whitney. He watched the infomercial. We attended that 3-day workshop. And that's how it all began. So to bring you back up to speed, so once we moved to Columbia, I took a position here. I was working full time. I was a part of Toastmasters, and that's when I met Sharindria. I was intrigued by her speech, her presentation. I went up to her and asked for her phone number and card, and then I met with her and her husband Marcus, and they began to share with me about entrepreneurship. At that time, I was a little hesitant because of our past experience in real estate when we lost everything. But as they were just talking to me, and Marcus said, "So why you think you have to wait so long?" And that question just resonated with me for a while. Like, yeah, why do I have to wait so long to start real estate investing? So in 2017, my husband, I started the business officially, setting up as an LLC. But right prior to that, my husband did find a property back in our hometown where he brought it. It was an ugly house, as Mr. Robertson said. Got it for $12,000. It has a little significant with our name, Dream 12. Got that property for $12,000. We slow rolled that. We waited for a while because we want to make sure we did it out of pocket and not accumulate so much debt and go into debt getting the property. So we had that property, we repaired it and fixed it along the way. and we were able to pull cash out of it after we brought it up to value. And that was the first we held on to that. Then we began to look for more. After we had that under our belt, we utilized auctions to find properties, driving for dollars, as Christian mentioned a little bit earlier. Other wholesalers, the term we're using, wholesalers brought us deals through our local RIA. And also I'm a licensed real estate agent, so I've utilized MLS, multiple listing services, just a whole gamut of other avenues to find properties. So that's how we got back and started. And from there, we just kept going. We learned from each house is different. We continue to learn and grow as we begin to flip property. So we had a mixture of both, because we want to do flipping, which is the avenue of real estate investing that allows us to get the most cash out. And also simultaneously, we also had our rental properties where we can maximize monthly cash flow.
Got it. I love that story. And I love how, some people will say, oh, I had a property before and I lost everything, or I had a bad tenant. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I can't stand this. And you have to have thick skin to be in this industry, to stay in this business, because things will happen to your property. People will do stuff. They'll take everything out that's not attached to the floor. And sometimes what is attached to the floor.
We've had that happen.
And you have to just decide, am I going to stay in this or am I going to quit? And Montez posted, Shondi, you lost everything, but you didn't lose your knowledge and experience. And I wanted to lift that up. I wanted you to share that a little bit, just to kind of encourage somebody who may be watching and think, I don't want to do this because, what if? But any business that you're in, if you're an entrepreneur, any business has risk. There's risk involved. So.
Wow. Yeah. Summer asked the question, so what would you say are the very first steps in getting started in real estate, especially rentals? Corey, you want to talk about, I guess, our first rental? Do you remember it?
So, yeah, most definitely. So I think, and I think somebody else asked, where would they start if they were just getting into real estate? I think, I can't see everybody's name, but somebody mentioned earlier about getting with your local CREA. I think that is very key, because being around people who are like-minded in terms of what you're doing, what you're looking for, what you want to get into, you want to be able to surround yourself with those types of people. And one of the things CREA does is, when you go into that room or that meeting, everybody in there has something to do with real estate, whether it's financials, whether it's property management, whether it's wholesaling deals. So you can really learn a lot just by listening in those rooms. So I would really encourage anybody trying to get into real estate to join a local CREA, because that avenue, it will just open your mind up to so many different things. As far as rentals goes, to answer your question, Marcus, so rentals, I think, are a very good way to understand the real estate game in terms of cash flow, if you will. You're going to take that property, you're going to rent it for a certain amount, hopefully above your mortgage payment if you have a loan on that property, and you got to factor in certain things, taxes and insurance. You got maintenance in that, but you can't become so acquainted with that property that you don't want anybody to stay in it. Some tenants are going to be good. Some tenants are going to be horrible. Some tenants will take care of your property. Some tenants will not. And I think, the more you get accustomed to renting a property out, you're going to know. You're basically going to know. I mean, you want to take care of that property as best you can, and you want to put somebody in there who can do that. But just know you're going to have ups and downs with rentals, but it's okay. It's part of the process. Definitely part of the process.
Wow. Well, Joseph asked the question, is there any advantage to getting a real estate license and having access to the MLS? And I'll say, and I know Shondi can speak to this as well. I've been a broker for over 10 years, and I'll say this: when it comes down to having a license, it gives you access. Okay. It does not teach you how to make money, but it does give you access. And access is half the battle because you have so many options when you have access to the MLS. You see a lot of information that others don't see. And you communicate with other, not only investors, but other realtors and brokers, which helps you get deals done oftentimes. So yeah, there's definitely an advantage. And of course, you know, when you're licensed to do anything, you have to always disclose that. So just understand that there's merit to it. We was probably about 6 years in before I got my license to do anything. So you don't necessarily have to be a realtor to be an investor. But I will say, you know, there are some hindrances, but you know, it does help. I believe it does help.
And Marcus, I would like to add too, by obtaining a license, you also, especially when you attend the class, you learn a lot about real estate law, which is helpful, especially with completing and filling out contracts, which is also very helpful in this business as well. Also too, because if you could take the approach of becoming a flipper, you can also flip your own, because if you're a property, you can sell and you can save on the commission that way as well. So those are two advantages of having a real estate license.
That's the main advantage, the commission. Let's be clear, because I mean, and the thing is, and I'll say this, you know, when you become a sales agent, you have to work under a broker for 3 years, at least in South Carolina. You have to work under someone for 3 years. But when you become a broker, you sit for that particular licensure. It allows you so much freedom to negotiate, because at that point, you can negotiate your commissions. You can use the commission as a part of a down payment. You can use it as a part of a way to close a deal, closing costs. You have so many options. And so, you know, for those of you who are realtors, make sure you go ahead and press and become a broker, because it does have so many advantages.
And I want to share, Cottrell said, never fall in love with the property unless you plan on living in the property. So I lived in the property. So my first real estate investment was the house that I lived in prior to getting married. It was a beautiful little home. It was so nice and clean.
It's cute.
Unlike when I walked downstairs, now living with these 4 wonderful people. But so yeah, I had that little house, and when I got married, I wanted to keep this house naturally as an investment property, because who I was married to, and that's what they were already doing. So I was like, let me keep this as an investment property. And I kept the house, and I kept going by the house. I would ride by the house. I was stalking the house as well. I was doing all the stuff that you said don't do. And I was like, I don't like this. Look at what they're doing in my house. I can't believe they're doing this in my house. I can't believe they're doing this in my house. Well, needless to say, I got rid of the house. Marcus was like, you can't do this. Like, you can't keep going by the house, wondering if they're doing this, wondering if they're doing that. I really wanted to keep the property as a rental. I wanted to be a long-term rental, but I ultimately ended up having to sell the house because I was personally attached to the house.
Right. She didn't like being a landlord.
I did.
She really expected the people to take care of the property as she did, and she kind of got in for a rude awakening, right?
I did. And so sometimes you have the properties that you have a sentimental attachment to or value to, and they end up not being the best property. And something Marcus had to share with me with that property, he's like, you have to think about it. You didn't buy it as an investment property. You bought it as your home. And for some people, you can turn your home into an investment property, but that was not the intent. He did, and he does it well. And I don't go over there and look at it because I would probably feel the same way. So I learned from the last house not to drive by the home that we lived in before we moved here, because I would probably start feeling the same way. So you have to think about that and detach yourself from the property.
I did it the other day on my first flip. The one that I sold, I drove around the neighborhood just to see how it looks now, because I'm like, that's my regret is selling it. I should have kept it.
Yeah, and I do. I say that too. Like the house that I sold, I was like, I should have gotten over my narcissistic behavior and just kept the house and continue to rent the house and just not go over there. But you know, it's you live and you learn. There are always more properties, and that's the other thing. When you lose a property, you know that there are always more properties out there. You just have to yourself and go get it.
Now, I guess one thing, I guess in terms of where you start, because this is a question that I get a lot. So you have, like in Colombia, we have a lot of people who are not really from Colombia. Everybody seems to be a transplant,
Mhm.
you know, and so they
Mhm.
have that house wherever they're from, you know, that grandma's house, that great aunt's house, that type of thing. And so as a result, it's like everybody wants to kind of stay at home and just try to figure out how they can work the area that they're from. That is a very difficult thing to do when you're just starting out. I suggest if you are just starting out, make sure you operate in your area.
Yeah.
Operate in your area. In other words, maybe 25, 30-mile radius, maybe. That might even be too big. But, you know, trust me, there are properties where you are, so you don't have to spread out and you don't have to do all this stuff. At the time when we started, I was living in Columbia, but my brother and my dad, they lived in Greenville, which is where the property was. I don't know if we would have started that way with a property 100 miles away from all of us, you know. What do you think, Corey? Do you think we'd have started that way?
No, I think you know you hit the nail on the head. I think you start where you're comfortable, where you know the area,
Mhm.
if at all possible. Um, it was comfortable for us to start in the area where we were familiar.
Yeah, go ahead, Corey.
So it was comfortable for us to start in the area that we were familiar. I think now we've ventured out to other areas, but I don't think it makes sense because you don't know, especially if you're going to rent the property out. If you're flipping, you know, I think you can do some research there. But if you're going to maintain that property, I think you got to do a lot of research in that area because you're going to need to know the neighborhood. You're going to need to know what the rents can be, the school district. There's so much information that I guess we grew up knowing because we knew the area. So maybe that was a comfort for us. But I would definitely look at, you know, within that 25-mile area, so you'll know the area that you're buying.
And I want to speak to that. Well, go ahead. You go ahead, and then okay, I want to speak to that too because Shandi, you know, Shandi lives in Columbia, but they are from Folkestone, Georgia, and so she has properties there. And you know, Shandi can speak to how often though do you go back to your hometown? I know one of my brothers, actually two of my brothers are on here, maybe three, I don't know, but we have a property in my hometown too where we grew up, and it's been almost like a thorn in your flesh, if you will, because again, it goes back to that sentimental value that you have. And you want to, you know, do you renovate the property? Do you sell the property in your hometown? Shandi, if you're not invested in, I know I'm not invested in going back and forth and trying to keep it up. So it may be a flip. But Shandi, how do you and Jake do it, being that you have properties in Columbia, but you also have properties in Folkestone? Do you travel back and forth a bit? And how far is Folkestone, Georgia from Columbia? Start with that.
Yeah. It could be a thorn in your side. Folkestone, Georgia is about 4 hours here south of here.
Wow.
Jay does a lot of traveling back and forth on the properties because we have one right now that we're doing a renovation that we're going to flip. So he's constantly back and forth just to manage project and make sure everything's in line so we can meet our time schedule. The other properties we have, there are rental properties, and we do have a really great support team that helps us out. So that's a plus. So there's this pros and cons with us going back and forth. But lesson learned is that we don't look to do any more flipping in that area because it's so draining on us to go back to traveling back and forth to make sure everything is aligned and done like the way we want to be done.
Okay.
So Shandi, just a question. So with the property that you're flipping that's 4 hours away, is that where you're from?
Yes, that's our hometown.
So you have a crew or a team that's actually doing the work there?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. One of the challenges we have, and I know we might be off topic, but I think it's all related. So one of the challenges we have is that when we did buy property where it would be 2 hours away, 3 hours away, it would always be a challenge to have work done, repairs done, or anything of that nature, because it would be hard to basically trust people
Yeah.
because you don't know the area. We may know of people, but they may not have the contacts that we actually need in order to take care of the property. And so what happens is, we depend on people where we're from, and we have to, commute them there, put them up in hotels or that type thing. So one of the things that we sort of shy away from now is buying property, I guess within 100-mile radius, if you will, so that my brother can get to it or I can get to it rather quickly. And so when I heard you say, you're doing something 4 hours away, yeah, I can only imagine some of the challenges we're having with that.
Yeah. And yeah, like you said, because you want it done right. It's your name behind it at the end of the day. Some of your contractors or subcontractors don't understand that when we sell the house to finished product, they're going to look at us like we did the product. They're not going to say, well, your plumber or your electrician, et cetera, didn't do it properly. They're going to say, you didn't do this properly. So that's why that's what, like you said, one of the challenges. You want to be there. You want to make sure it's done. You don't want to micromanage. However, but you know that at the end of the day, that your name is on that product, and you want to make sure you stand behind a product that's reputable of you, and that's going to be a sound and quality home for that new home buyer.
Yeah. And I think that was one of the reasons why I was thinking when you first get into real estate, it may want to be, you may want to consider something closer to you that you can get your hands on, that you can stop by, and it may be a 30-minute ride versus a 4-hour or a 3-hour ride away. Because you want to be on that site as much as you can, especially it being your first one.
I definitely recommend that.
So we have a question. Can y'all hear us over here?
Yeah.
All right. So,
Okay, great.
all right. So good. So, this is for Thomas. So, how do you determine how much is too much to put into a rental property? That's the first part of the question. And the second part of the question is, how do you budget to ensure that you're not a slumlord, but not necessarily overspending on a property as far as the renovations go?
Well, I think, Marcus, in terms of how much is too much to put into a property, I think you have to know the area in terms of what the value in that particular area is. And I think the other part of it is that you want to make your money when you purchase it. So basically, you definitely want to buy wholesale or less, meaning that if it needs a lot of work, you really have to factor that into your negotiations with the seller to get a good price. Once that's done, then I think you have to then move to the fix-up. The fix-up in terms of that, basically, with your experience base and knowing whether it needs electrical, roof, plumbing, all those things you will have done in advance. And as a result of doing that in advance, you're going to know about what you have to put into it. The rest of it is just cosmetic. And so, factoring those numbers in, once you've gotten those numbers, then you're going to know exactly what you put in and the value in that particular area, meaning that you might have put a total of $35,000 in it. But the value in that particular area, maybe running anywhere from 55 to 65. So you got equity in that house on day one before you rent it.
Got it.
Great. Now, one thing which is kind of unique, I guess, for us is that Corey and I, we are second generation entrepreneurs. And what's interesting is what's not being said is the wealth of experience that we get just based on our father's knowledge and him being in business and being in corporate America for a good number of years. I think it's hugely important that we don't overlook this, because the reality is, if at some point our kids will be third generation entrepreneurs, And Shandi, your kids, if they already know how to assess a deal, they'll be second generation entrepreneurs. And so we got to make sure that we are passing this information and making sure that we have open lines of communication and mutual respect, so that we can make sure that we pass this conversation to the next generation, because our community right now is still suffering. And so having this type of conversation will make our community better.
Right. And the one thing I've learned about the whole real estate investment business, because I was determined shortly after I got married and I started seeing how different the business was, and how for as many investors as we would have on this platform, all of them will have a different way of doing things. And so I wanted to make sure I knew what was going on, being connected and married to somebody who's in this type of business, because just like with any business, you have people who do things above board, and then you have people who are shady and shysty. And I was like, okay, I need to understand this, because when you start getting involved with this, I mean, it could be some serious consequences and repercussions if you're not doing things the right way. So I was really trying to make sure I understood. But I want people to know and to be able to respect that there are so many different ways of doing this business, and something that may work for one person may not work for another person. So with that being said, Summer is asking, are there any lenders that you would recommend, or that would seem to be easier to use than other lenders? And whoever wants to take a stab at that, are there any lenders that you would recommend? Now, Summer is in South Carolina. Summer's in Orangeburg, South Carolina. And I know lenders may be regionally, but someone has posted in the comments too, a lot of things about relationships. So you do want to make sure, I just put that little bit out, you want to begin to establish relationships with some lenders that are out there. But I'll let the pros. Anybody else want to tackle that question from Summer?
Kristen?
Can y'all hear me?
Hold on.
Okay.
Just
That
one
is
second,
basically-
Kristen. Go ahead.
You have to establish a relationship with a bank. Start very small and just introducing yourself and talking to that particular banker. But establish a relationship so they get to know you, and they get to know what your vision is about business. And once it happens, that may take anywhere from 6 months to a year to establish that relationship. But once you get ready to do something, that individual is going to know you pretty much, and they're going to basically buy into your vision, perhaps. So the relationship, you can't underestimate that piece. So there's no one lender that we can point a person to that can say they're going to give you money. Because I think that when you look at us as individuals, look at us as investors, this is a new territory for African Americans to a large extent. And so you got to understand that. And so establishing that relationship is very important. The other piece of it is, I think that you got to understand that you're building a business, and you can't, there's some terms that use with some of the younger investors in some cases. They talk about blowing up overnight. Well, you really can't do that. 1 out of a million may happen that way. But most businesses are built from the ground up. That means every day you're doing something towards your business to make it better. But I think that the big issue is, whatever the lender is, go ahead and start trying to establish a relationship. That's one thing that we did, I guess, 15, 17 years ago. We got with the bank and we established a relationship. We did what we were supposed to do. They did what they were supposed to do. And now we're still moving forward with that particular bank. But it's all about the relationship. They know what we're trying to do. They know we're going to do what we say we're going to do. So it's important to really build that relationship.
Right.
Kristen?
Thank you. That was great.
Yes. Okay, as far as the lenders that I recommend, I like Lehman One Capital. They're pretty popular. And Straight Line Funding. Another one is Carolina Capital Management. They call themselves Carolina Hard Money Lenders. And Bakers and Collins. Those are the lenders that I like. And investors that I know have worked with them before, and they're still giving out funds right now, even during this pandemic. So as far as the banks goes, I know the type of properties that I usually get does not qualify to get the bank loans until it's renovated. So right now it's just hard money lenders. I would prefer it be private lenders all the way, so you won't have to worry about a lot of fees when it comes to hard money lenders. But for now, since I'm still a newbie, now I guess I have to build that relationship with people. I use hard money lenders.
I got you.
Cool.
I got you.
Mhm.
Okay, go ahead, Marcus. I'll let you.
What's interesting is you brought up a great point, talking about the types of properties that we invest in. I mean, that's kind of all over the place as well, because the reality is, you know, we buy what's called non-conforming properties. These are properties that most of the time banks won't touch because they can't really see the vision. They can't get their money out immediately if there's something that goes wrong. So most of those properties generally have all your major systems that need to be replaced. And quite frankly, you know, sometimes the more repairs you have, the better the profit potential. And so, and the better tax write-off in some cases. But the reality is there is conforming properties where banks love those type of properties. They're very easy to look at. You know, the numbers just happen to be right and everything else just happens to be right. But then there are the stuff that we buy, the non-conforming properties, where basically everything is wrong with the property and we have to make it right.
Yeah.
And Corey, I want to shoot this over to you. If you can see Montez's comment, he says he's currently managing his own investment property. When is a good time to get a management company, and what's a fair rate to pay for the services? You want to talk about that, Corey?
Okay. Yes. So first thing you can do, I don't know where the property is, but if it is in Columbia or Greenville, you can call 864-318-0446, which is our company. We can definitely look at that. But in all seriousness, I think the best time to turn it over to a management company is when you can't service the property yourself. Now you have to be able to afford the company. The average goes anywhere from 10% to 12% in terms of what the management fee is, and that's of the gross rents. So if you look at that fee coming out of your monthly rents and you have a mortgage, you just got to factor all of that in. And so if you're still clearing money, that might be an avenue for you. You still have to account for maintenance, taxes, and insurance. So I think after you factor all of those costs in, then you can looking at a property management company. But by all means, we would definitely be happy to take care of your needs.
This property is in Orangeburg, Corey.
It's in Orangeburg. Okay. All right. Well, we manage property in Orangeburg, so that would be definitely right up our alley.
Yeah, okay. So notice, Corey, where do you live again?
Yeah, I was telling Shondi about that earlier, about that 2-3 hours away. But anyway,
that really sounds like you just gave me work, but it's okay.
Yeah,
okay.
You about 45 minutes away. So
yeah, you're right. So Joseph, check this out. Joseph has a question. Does anybody have any tips on finding some of these properties? He's in Texas, but as you all know, deals are everywhere. Shondi, could you talk a little bit about how you find deals?
Yeah. So being new to area, I would definitely talk to a real estate agent. Get them to pull you a list of homes what you're looking for, if you can be more specific, like what type of homes you're looking for, and then they can explain to you the market, especially if you're new to that area. Begin to talk to if you're employed there, talk to your employees and ask questions about the neighborhoods and how the market is, and so you can get an understanding of like what areas you would like to invest in. Ride around too, just driving around areas, be just coming familiar with what's going on in that area is another way. Just constantly keep your eye out on what's going on. Use your social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, sometimes Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, just to get an idea like what prices are going for. Even use other real estate search tools like Zillow, Trulia, so they give you an idea like what's going on in your market. So I figured the number one important thing to know is just knowing the market, get an idea what prices are going for if you're new to that area. But like Marcus said, there's lots of ways to find deals, but knowing the market first is I would definitely recommend to new investors, and utilizing those tools to understand like what prices are going for, or what people are paying, and what type of repairs are there that investors or homeowners are putting into those houses.
That's a very, very good point. Talk a little bit about Kristen, how you get some of your deals.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Oh, he said talk about how you get some
Some
of
of
your
your deals,
deals.
yeah.
And as you're talking about that, I'm the timekeeper, so I'm looking at the time. So share with us, Kristen, how you get some of your deals and some closing comments that you would share with the people, and then we'll go to Corey and Shondi and close out with Mr. Robbins.
Facebook Marketplace. I know some people are skeptical about it, but I love Facebook Marketplace. You can find a lot of deals in that little section of Facebook. That's how I found my second property, which I'm currently working on right now, and I'm about to close on a third one in about 2 weeks or so. So yeah, Facebook Marketplace, and joining your local RIA. Usually we have wholesaler investors that will present their deals that they have under contract, and you can talk to them because they have the properties under contract already for, off market, below market value. So joining your local RIA, which is Real Estate Investor Association, and Facebook Marketplace. Those are the two things that I would do in order to find deals.
Sounds good. Corey, any last words?
Echo what she said about that RIA. That is just one useful resource wherever you are in America, because it is nationwide. You will find something local like that in your area. Another thing is, it's just basic. Tell people what you're doing.
Yep.
I think a lot of times, we sort of kind of keep stuff to ourselves, but sometimes when you just tell people what you're doing, what you're looking for, they will help you. They will help you. They will start putting things and throwing it your way or asking on your behalf. So a lot of the deals that come to us now is because people know that that's what we're looking for. So I would just encourage you to basically talk about what you want to do. Talk about what you're looking for, what you want to be, and get people involved, and they will be ambassadors for you.
Wow. Shondi.
You want me to leave parting words? Is that what you want me to do?
Yeah, give me some parting words. Give me some parting words.
Yeah, what I would definitely recommend for any new investors is continue to educate yourself. Constantly read, because there's so much information out here that you can become, like Kristen mentioned a little earlier, you have that analysis paralysis. You want to learn this one, that, I do stress you have to read. You have to know what's going on in the industry, especially if you want to make this a business out of this. Constantly read, surround yourself with individuals who have the like-mindedness. Like, for example, I met Christian through our local RIA here in Columbia. Become a part of those. Continue to search for other tools that's out there that explains real estate, the concept, the basic terms about real estate investing. Stay on top of that and just have a plan. It changes. Like I mentioned earlier in the conversation, that we had properties, we lost them, we re-strategize and come up with a new deal, come up with a new idea, a new concept to real estate investing. Those are some part words I just want to leave with you all.
Absolutely. Wow. One thing I will say, as far as how to find some deals, we don't want to leave out our attorneys. Attorneys have been an amazing source of deal finding, especially probate attorneys. Every deal in South Carolina, in a lot of states, have to be closed by attorneys. Some, you can get into title companies or whatnot, but for the most part, attorneys pretty much close real estate deals. And so you want to make these attorneys your friends, because not only do they point you to good deals sometimes, but they just offer a wealth of information as far as knowledge. And it's stuff that you won't know, stuff that you don't have expertise in. They have the expertise. And so you need to make sure that you you friend these types of people and build your team for the task. So you have realtors, you have appraisers, you have attorneys, and every realtor is not going to be qualified to work with you. Be clear,
Yeah.
because a lot of realtors have never been trained in the area of real estate investing. And so they've been generally, when you go to real estate school, you're trained in how not to be sued and how to protect your broker. So you're not trained in terms of how to make money or how to be a real estate investor. So sometimes you have to train people. Sometimes you just have to look for the experience base. Pop, any parting words that you have for us?
I think it's been a very good session tonight. Thanks for having me. I think one thing that you're talking about finding properties. I think one thing I'm up the old school. You got to get in these communities and just see what homes are there that's grown up and those kind of things. You can find some good rough houses now for some very good prices. So don't overlook the obvious from that standpoint. But just take a ride once a week to see what's going on in your area and see what may become available. I think Corey touched on it a few minutes ago in terms of letting people know what you're doing. We are known now for investors who buy properties and fix them up. So people, to a large extent, are bringing situations to us. Even in Columbia Marcus' area, he's being notified about properties. So don't overlook the obvious, taking that ride in a given community to see just what's going on and if there's some properties there that you might be interested in. And you surprise yourself in terms of getting some very good deals. We got one, I guess, about 3 or 4 weeks ago in Anderson.
Okay. All right, good enough. You want to close us out?
Well, as always, I just want to say thank you to everybody for watching another episode of Faith, Family, and Finance. Thank you so much to our wonderful panelists who served today. Corey, I was waiting to go into that next level and start talking about the building and the commercial properties. We didn't get to that, so I guess you have to come back again so we can talk about people who want to participate in building projects and who want to invest in commercial real estate. So that will be another segment for another day. Kristen, I love that you were able to join us, my Sora, my sister, my friend, and my friend. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm just so amazed at where you and Jay are right now, and I just love your restart in your story. And as always, I love my father-in-law immensely. I'm so glad that he was able to join us today as we all look up to him and my mother-in-law for their expertise. Thanks everyone for watching, and continue to share this, and let's talk about this throughout the week. The conversation doesn't have to stop tonight. Inbox these investors that you see on here, talk to them, blow them up on Facebook. They may hold your next deal that you're looking for. So reach out to them. Thanks everybody. Have a great week.
Take care.
All right,
Bye.
all right, bye.